today's tip. Oh, I wonder what they're building here. Probably more overpriced Hong Kong property that nobody will ever be able to afford to buy, other than a select few. Anyway, today's tip is more of an explanation. I'm going to explain what a polymeter is. I cannot demonstrate it just by talking, but I will explain it as best I can. So if you saw the other video previous to this one, by some chance, I explained what a Wow. Anyway, so if you saw my previous video about polyrhythms, you would know that a polyrhythm is two separate counts, two different rhythms played at the same time that fill up the same space of time, like a count or a bar or whatever. So like 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4 at the same time, right? But they fill up the same space, so they don't overlap over the bar line, right? This is a little bit of an oversimplification, but this is the simplest way I can differentiate a polyrhythm and a polymeter. Of course, the names don't really matter as long as you can do them and you understand metrically what's going on. You can give them your own names, who cares, right? But anyway, so a polyrhythm, for the sake of reference, is two rhythms played at the same time, and they don't overlap. They take up the same amount of space. So a 3 stuffed into that space and a 4 stuffed into that space, or whatever the two numbers are, a 7 and a 9, it doesn't matter, stuffed into that space, and they start and finish together, that's a polyrhythm. Now, that means you have to, condense or stretch one of them if you're thinking relatively, right? A polymeter is slightly different in that the note values might be the same, or at least subdivisions of like the same. How to explain it? So let's say you have 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, and then you have 9, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you are not condensing the 9 or stretching the 7 or whatever, or force fitting them into the same amount of time. So what's going to happen is, when you get to 7 and then back to 1 on the 7, 8, your 9 hasn't finished yet. There's still 2 more beats, right? So there's going to be an overlap. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But by the time you get to 8 and 9, you're already on 1 and 2 of the 7, right? And they overlap and they can cross the bar line or whatever, right? So what this means is there will be a certain number of bars that they're going to overlap, and it's going to sort of, things are going to shift every bar. And after a certain number of bars, they're going to overlap. So let's say, for example, if it's so simple as like 7, 8 over 9, 8, or 7 over 9, you could be counting those 8 notes as quarter notes, depending on how your perception is. But let's say it's what you would understand to be 7, 8, and 9, 8, and they're played at the same time. The 7, 8 is going to finish 2 beats earlier, right? So as those both loop, so it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, and the 9 is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's nowhere I can go without noise. Okay, let me say this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2 is the same point as in the 7 as the 9's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? Then, when the 9 starts again on 1, the 7's already on 3, okay? And that displacement is going to keep going as this continues. However, because you're simply just using the same note value of 7, 8, and 9, 8, they're both 8 notes, and it's 7 and 9, it's very simple to deduce It's not as complicated as it seems. It's very simple to deduce that after you've done the 7, 8, 9 times, and you've done the 9, 8, 7 times, they're going to meet up back on 1 again, okay? I think I found a quiet place. Wow! I mean, it's about as quiet as it's going to get. So you get my point? Now the only thing then would be is, you might not want to do that. You might want to put like, I don't know, 5, 4. Alright, let's not confuse you. Let's say it's still 7 and 9, but it's 7, 4 and 9, 8. Okay? How does that work? It's alright. It's the same thing. 7, 4 is just, if you divide the 7 in 2, it's 14 eighth notes. So now they're both, now you calculate them both as 8 notes. So the only difference is, after 14 eighth notes, the 7, 4 finishes. So you can think of it like 14, 8, but it's actually 7, 4. Because you're going to round it down to the lowest denominator, or whatever the fuck you call it, I don't know. So basically, you're going to just compare the note values and match them. So if it's 9, 8 and 7, 4, that's like 9 eighth notes and 14 eighth notes. And then you can calculate when they're going to meet up, just like the way you could with 7 and 9, right? So doesn't matter. Okay, what if it's 16th notes? Okay, if it's 19, 16 and 5, 4, well, you just split it down to the lowest value. Okay, so 19, 16 is 16th notes. When I say the lowest value, I mean like, what I'm talking about is I'm counting quarter notes as the highest value, and that's divided into eighth notes, and then that's divided into 16 notes, so that's the lowest value, even though the number is higher. I'm thinking of it like that, just so you're aware, so this is clear. So the smallest note value is 16th notes in this instance, 1916. 5/4 over 1916. So you're just going to take that bigger one and divide it down until you get to 16th notes. So how many 16th notes is in 5/4? Obviously, you divide it. 5/4 is 10 eighth notes when you split it in half. And then when you split it in half again, it's now 20 16th notes. 5 quarter notes is exactly equal to 10 eighth notes, which is exactly equal to 20 16th notes. You follow me? So now what you have is 1916, so that's 19 16th notes, with 20 16th notes happening at the same time. So the overlap is going to come after the 19th 16th note on 1916. You're then going to get 1. But on the 5/4, you're going to get 20. And then the 1 comes on the second 16th note of 1916. Okay? And then they will continue to overlap. But now, because you have them matching in note value, 20 and 19, you can figure out how many times it's going to loop before it meets up again. And that's a polymeter. That's it. Simple as that. It's a little bit more complicated, of course, than playing a time signature and then playing odd meters. But it's not that complicated still in concept. Yeah, sorry, I got cut off before because my phone was full as usual. So I was saying, in concept, that's all a polymeter is. Very simple. In practice, might be a little tricky at first, but all you got to do is do it more, listen to more polyrhythms, absorb them, immerse yourself in them, and eventually it will click. Listen, practice, and go and play in situations. Play polymeters, not polyrhythms. I made a mistake. Both of those. So go and do it, and eventually it will click. As long as you get this concept first. If you don't get it, just keep watching or watch someone else's video till you get it. But then, once you get it, it's a different story doing it. So go do, and eventually it will click and it will become natural to you. Okay? I just remembered also, I have an example of this from a gig. So I'm going to put it in here. Okay, so that was just simply on the fly. We were, in the middle of doing a tune and the drum solo was going on. And then Chris started playing 7/8 while we're all playing in 4/4 and overlapping until it met back up. After that, he did some other stuff which isn't polymeters, kind of. It's more like metric modulation. But that part was 7 against 4, 7/8 over 4/4, which is equal to 8/8 notes, as I previously described. Okay, so this is a way you can think of polymeters, and it's kind of easy to understand, I hope, or at least maybe easier than some other explanations. If not, find someone else's explanation too until you get it. All of these things about music, they're easier for someone who is a musician. They're easier to just do than to explain. You just know, you already know how to do it. But to then explain it to someone who cannot grasp the concept when you already grasp the concept, it's very hard to imagine how somebody cannot understand what's going on, right? So it's hard to explain in a way where it's not biased with we already get it, So hopefully this explanation helps. If it doesn't, find more people's alternative explanations and ways of thinking about this, and you will probably click eventually, hopefully. And that applies to anything in music, whether it's rhythm related stuff or picking up how to play modes or whatever, things like that. Okay, so that's Polymeters. I'm out for now. Bye.